The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
We have a question today from George from Tallahassee, Florida. And George writes, recently, Pete Hegseth was questioned by Congress, and it was explosive. Some members questioned the war in Iran, calling it a quagmire. In usual Trump administration fashion, Hegseth shot back, calling the members unpatriotic and treasonous and giving aid and comfort to the enemy. I've been seeing this sentiment in many social media feeds recently. So my question is, did Hegseth have a point? Is not fully supporting the war unpatriotic? Could it be classified as treasonous? I know the panel has said that during times of war, truth is one of the first casualties. I also know we probably are in the dark about a lot of things in this conflict. But one thing seems clear. Trump and Hegseth are seemingly moving toward redefining victory in the conflict. Do you think in the end this strategy will be successful? And what might this redefinition look like? These are actually excellent questions, George. Thank you so much. And Mark, Scott, what do you think?
I'll just say this. Is my understanding of the word quagmire is something that you can't get out of. You know, that's quicksand that ain't mud. And that's where we are right now. We're in a really bad position. And if we get out of it, I think it's going to end up being that we get out of it simply by saying, well, we're done with it. We're not doing this anymore because, and there will be a certain amount of people, I'm going to guess that 35% or so of Americans who accept that from the president as like, hey, we won the war. Let's move on with our lives. But in the meantime, none of the objectives that they set out to accomplish have been achieved. And actually, Trump over the weekend added another one, which I would number 4, I suppose, which is that they haven't suffered enough in Iran to make up for the 47 years that they have been antagonistic toward the West or whatever you want to say. Yeah, I mean, perhaps that's true. I don't know about the number. I think it's 73 years since we decided to oust Iran's elected president and replace him with the Shah of Iran. So it's been going on for quite a while. That move led to the next move, which happened in 1979, which is what the Trump administration chooses to claim is the beginning of this thing. And here we are now today. I don't see how we're getting out of this without leaving the world in a much worse place than it was before it started.
I agree with you, Scott, in the idea of the use of the word quagmire. How long is a quagmire? I guess that's my question. What is the length required for something to become a quagmire? We all know that Afghanistan was a quagmire because of the length of it. It was 18 years. We know that Vietnam was a quagmire. Has this risen to that level? If Hegseth is making a point that this is not raised to that level of the amount of time that we're talking, then yes, I would say, George, he has a point there. So I kind of, balk on the use of the use of the word quagmire. I would rather say this is more protracted than what you said it was going to be, which would probably be a little bit more to the point. Is it unpatriotic and treasonous and giving aid and comfort to the enemy? Absolutely damn not. This has been something in the history of now we're at the 250th anniversary of our nation. This has been something that has been going on since the beginning. Let's remember, during the Revolutionary War, not everybody supported it. There were loyalists. They did not support it. Were they treasonous? No. They believed, a matter of fact, they would say that the ones that wanted revolution were the traitors. and we're being unpatriotic. And I think we also have to qualify the fact that patriotism is not defined by a lot of the ways that the Trump administration or a lot of the people that follow Trump, or even actually both sides, define it as. Patriotic means that you stand up for your country. However, it does not mean that you blindly follow them along as they do things that are wrong or illegal or unethical. And I don't support the war at all. I cannot. You've got to give me a reason why we're in it. You've got to give me, some concrete evidence as to why we are there, and I don't support it because they simply have not been able to do that. And so, no, that cannot be called treasonous. That's called free speech. We've had it again throughout our entire country. People standing up against war. We had it a lot during Vietnam. We had it a lot during the Iraq War. We had it a lot during Afghanistan, although it didn't get the headlines that this is getting. And we even had it during the Civil War, where people on both sides were against their side fighting in the war. So no, that's not treasonous. Treason is you did something. You did something that would be treachery against your country or against the effort, and opposing it and speaking out about it that does not rise to the level of treachery. Yes, you're correct that we do say here, during times of war, the truth is the first casualty, and it is definitely the casualty here. And I think that that's one of the reasons why. And I did watch some of the Hegseth thing with the Senate. And yeah, it was a usual thing because we don't really know. I don't think even the Senate and the people in power really know what's going on. And that should really worry all of us. It's one thing if the three of us here on this podcast and you out there that are listening don't know everything. I mean, that's one level. But when you're talking United States senators who are interviewing and questioning the head of the Department of Defense, and they're asking questions. If you really pay attention to the questions they're asking questions about stuff they really don't have any idea about. They really don't have the information, and they're trying to get the information, and that is a problem. That is a huge problem. If these people don't know what's going on, these people in power that are supposed to be oversight for this to me is a huge problem, even greater than the war itself, because it shows a breakdown in our system. But yeah, Hegseth calling them treasonous and unpatriotic and this, that, and the other, that's just the code word we've heard throughout both Trump administrations, where if you agree with me, you're a patriot, you're wonderful, you're right. If you disagree with me, you're a hoax, you're on a witch hunt, and you're a traitor. Same old.
I guess there's one more thing. Just getting so the whole thing with Pete Hegseth is completely performative as usual, right? We see time and time again that cabinet secretaries go up to the Hill and they're performing for Trump, acting like imbeciles, trying to be, to talk tough. Was Pam Bondi would have brought the binder with her with insults for every pre-written insults for every senator who asked her a question. Hegseth is just a little bit more sort of in general, like you people are losers and stuff like that. I mean, Colin Jost has him down on Saturday Night Live. He really does. Yeah, it was sort of like.
Did you see the one with Kash Patel this last week?
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
absolutely.
that was so good.
We're crossing every T and bugging every I.
I have shown. I am a trailblazer. I have shown that not all Indian people are competent.
Right. Yeah, that was really. He got in a lot of really good lines there, real quick. And this, the whole persona of Hegseth just like reeks of somebody who's in so over his head he doesn't know what to do other than shout, right? What's the old thing? If you have the facts, state the facts. If you have the argument, make the argument. If you have nothing, bang the table. He's a table banger, and he's got no basis for any of the confidence that he seems to have in himself, and people around him talk all the time about, he doesn't like any kind of pushback, he's fired, what was it, 34, 32 or 34 generals who have pushed back on him. He's trying to change the military, I guess, in his own image of a misogynistic, unqualified, like, we have unqualified people coming up in the organization rather than like these like scholar warriors who used to be there, that we saw, in the past, guys who just blow your mind. They're so smart, like McRaven and some of the others there. McRaven really comes to mind because I saw him this last weekend reading a poem on Smerconish that was just, really, and had to stop. He got emotional about it, and he had to stop for a second and get his composure back before he could continue reading it. And that struck me as being like, this is what a real warfighter does. This is what a real commander does. And, there's nothing weak about William McRaven. He was a Navy SEAL, and he rose to the top of the Navy SEALs before going on to other things. He is a tough guy, but he understands the cost of war in a way that Pete Hegseth never can. It's all just make believe and costume play, and it's really kind of sickening. But having said that, it does seem that there are some moderates in Iran who could, in time, and this is going to be tough, and with a lot of targeted killing, I hate to even say that, but that is the truth, of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, could raise themselves into a position of influence in Iran and stop this insanity that they have had for, since at least 1979, where they are just so angered by and attacking the West all the time, mainly in the form of the United States and the Great Satan, and Israel, the Little Satan. So there are people who are still alive there. We know that Trump was a month late in helping the people rise up against their own government. He promised them he had their back. They went up and they rose up against him, and they were slaughtered. And when it was asked, why don't you have their back like you said you would, Trump sort of lamely said that the military told them they weren't ready yet, which prompts the question, why would you say you have somebody's back if you're not ready to yet? That is an enormous failure on the part of Trump to support the people who could have rose up. The other day, he was talking, this is a really bizarre thing, he was talking to a group of children at the White House for some kind of, I think it's exercise event. I don't remember what the whole thing was, but there were a bunch of children
participating in that, right?
He was trying to show them how well he putts, and he missed every single putt.
Okay, good.
but I think that was the extent of it. But then he had them in the Oval Office, and he had them like all around his desk, like he likes people standing behind him. So he has all these children, and I guess presumably there were children in front of the desk on the floor before the cameras were. And he just started talking about things like nuclear war and wiping out, the entire world, the executions, the targeted shooting of people in the head, and he would actually point to his head and say, right here on his forehead, they would shoot them right there, and they would fall, and he would sort of fell over into the children to explain what it means to get shot in the head and die. And it was just like a crazy sick thing. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much about how bizarre that whole thing was, but it was really bizarre. He was late in helping people out. He was unprepared, even though he was told the Strait of Hormuz would be closed. He didn't have a plan for that. He has failed our people greatly. More people are dying there. Even this last thing that he said, we're done with the one thing, and we're now opening up another one. He told Congress that the war was over and we're going to move into the next phase, which is just protecting shipping coming out. And that didn't last very long. right? Before I think a French ship that was supposed to be protected by Americans was attacked by Iranian small boats and hit, and the other captains are turning their boats back again, and they're saying, you know what, we can't go through the Strait of Hormuz. It's not going to be open now. Other countries are asking Iran to please open the strait. We need this, you know, and we'll see if that has any effect. I think if India and China were to both ask nicely enough, it would probably happen. Perhaps if Great Britain and France do the same, maybe it would have a good effect. But here's the thing: the IRGC, I think it's called, right? The Iranian Guard, Republican Guard, has failed. They're a failure. They're not any more successful in this war than we are, although they probably targeted our bases better than we thought they could, and they've created a lot more destruction and death than we're admitting, or we're being admitted to by our government. But they have failed their people. You know, this is not, I don't want, like, I would not want anybody to come away with the idea that we're supporting Iran in this fight. We're not. It is a terrible government. They have failed miserably. They don't know, they're inflexible, and they have not benefited their people. Everybody there is suffering greatly and has been for a long time. And so there should be reformists who are available to steer Iran out of this thing and perhaps trade the hope of a nuclear program and regional aggression against neighbors for the kind of economic relief and development aid that has helped other countries. It's just a matter of targeting the IRGC, killing their leaders or neutralizing their leaders if that's possible without killing them, I suppose. It doesn't matter to me one way or another. And giving the reformists another chance to stand up and this time really get their back and make sure that they're not slaughtered by their own government. And I think that that's the one hope that we have of getting out of this quagmire, which is, again, it doesn't matter how long you're stuck in the quagmire. Like I said, it's not mud, it's quicksand. You sink and it's hard to get out. And that's where we are right now. But we're dealing with a government that is even more flawed than the one we have now. And
that's hard to believe.
Yeah, right. But it is not impossible to see how you could maneuver this, but at least over time, to get the right people in charge of Iran and the biggest haters and biggest terrorists and biggest antagonists that we have out of the way.
And you know what, Scott, if nothing else, that should give us here in the United States hope, because if there's hope for Iran, for as long as they've had such a miserable time of it, you would kind of think now that there's maybe a little bit of hope for us. At least you kind of would hope so. Yeah, I agree with everything that you're saying. It is not that we are against the United States. It is not that we are for Iran. We are not in any way. We are, we want to see the United States do well, but we also want to see the United States do well legitimately. And as I say, when we're talking about, is it unpatriotic? It is not unpatriotic, according to the founding fathers and according to everything that supposedly that we believe in, to question the government as to the actions that they are taking. If we're going to start considering that unpatriotic, that's where we really have the big problem. But to move on to redefining, and that's an interesting thing that you're saying about this, that they're trying to redefine what victory looks like. If nothing else, if we haven't seen over the past, we're entering in week 10 now, I believe. Yeah, we're going into the 10th week. They have been redefining goals They have been redefining objectives. They've been redefining what winning is, whether they have won or whether we haven't won. That's all this has been. It is almost as if, and I was listening. It's almost as if they're blundering in the dark for an answer that will be palatable, because usually when that happens, when you get people that are blundering in the dark looking for an answer that's going to be palatable to others, usually that means that even the dumbest person realizes what they did was wrong and was a mistake. And although Pete Hegseth can bluster and do all that stuff at the Senate, like I said, the thing that struck me about the questions the Senate was asking, they were asking questions were basically common knowledge to pretty much anybody. You could have gotten that information off of CNN, could have gotten it off of Fox News. Of course, you're going to get a different twist onto it. You could have gotten it pretty much off of the BBC. They weren't asking those kind of questions that you would expect a Senate committee to ask that brought new light onto what is actually going on. And I think that was the thing that with the Senate hearings that really concerned me the most. Yeah, the performative thing by Pete Hegseth, yeah, go ahead, whatever. And I hate to say it, but Pete, you did a better job than Pam Bondi. At least you didn't say, look at the Dow. Oh, they were asking you these kind of questions. But I mean, when you've got the leaders of the nation that make a decision as to where we're going to be spending this money, and they're asking for more money to do it, to fight this war. When you've got those leaders without very many answers, and you're in a Senate hearing with the Department of Defense's secretary, and you can't ask those specific questions that should not be something that are just headlines or subscripts on CNN or Fox or any of these news agencies, that's where you've got a problem. That's where you've got to sit back and you say, "Oh, wait a minute. Who does really know what's going on?" And in some cases, we begin to get the feeling or the impression that Trump and Hegseth don't know what's going on. And that, to the people that we are sending over there, our service members, that's a huge detriment to them. That is extremely dangerous for them, and I think it's something that we really need to consider. A report, just this week, was that a Navy ship had been struck. Well, CENTCOM has denied that, and usually in the past we would say, well, CENTCOM, they're pretty reliable, but there's a lot of people out there now going, is this true? We don't know. And I think that's a point that we have to truly understand as well. You're right. Truth goes there to die, and it has died there. And whatever truth and whatever redefinition of victory, which will be a truth, supposedly to some portion of the population, that's probably what we're going to live with. And the rest of us that don't believe in that, who don't subscribe to Truth Social, where surprisingly enough our foreign policy is being conducted, which amazes me to no end. That to me, I don't know. I understand we're a little older. We don't get how that stuff works. But the fact is you don't conduct foreign policy by tweeting. I mean, I don't know. It just makes no sense to me. So, yeah, they're going to try to redefine it. They're going to try to redefine it in the best light that they can. But the fact is that the rest of the world and anybody that has any clue, you don't even have to know what's truly going on. You can see the results. Trump is here for a limited period of time, thank God. However, the mess that he has made with this war, we're going to have to be living with that mess for quite some time. And I think that's one of the greatest problems with this.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it just seems to me that Trump is doing the same thing here as he's done everywhere else in terms of redefining. I mean, he's redefining what the presidency is. He's redefining what the Justice Department is and Congress's role and what the Supreme Court should be and what America is and what America's role in the world is. And so he's redefined what truth and objectivity are. So he's simply going ahead and continuing his his normal operating paradigm. And then what was their project fruitcake? Project, what was it called? Project Freedom. To me, it's Project Fruitcake, but that was started and then stopped again because, according to him, Pakistan and other countries said, oh, it's so successful, or whatever it was. Please stop. We don't, you've won, or whatever it was, the message. And of course, I'm sure no one said any such thing. And now we're back moving toward serious talks, and Trump has a one-page peace proposal, and we've been down skipping down the same path over and over again, and the market keeps responding. Gas prices go down, the stock market goes up, and then everyone who buys into this finds out, oh no, none of that's true. And then the stock market goes down and gas prices go back up. And it's just, it's amazing to me that people are still falling for this. And so we shouldn't, we three don't, but I'm flabbergasted that anyone believes anything that comes out of Trump's mouth. He does. You were correct. He redefines what everything is. He certainly redefined the role of the presidency. All honor and morality and ethics and respect for the office and for the United States has just gone down the toilet.
Well, I will make a quick public service announcement to all our listeners. The other day, my wife and I, at 6:00 in the morning, were heading to the hospital. I had to have a little procedure done, and we passed by a gas station, and the gas price was $3.79. And my wife said, "Oh, that's pretty good." And for her, that was pretty good. She goes, "We should probably stop and get gas." I said, "Yeah, let's do that." And then she got worried that I'd be like 5 minutes late to the procedure. And of course, my comment was, "They can't start without me, dear. So let's just kind of go and get." No, didn't want to do it. 4 hours later, when we got done and we're heading home, it was up to $4.19. This really bothered her to no end whatsoever, that she missed $3.79, and 4 hours later it was $4.19. Give me a reason why it went up 40 cents. Couldn't even begin to tell you. But so public service announcement, if you see it low, run in. I don't care if you're going to be late for whatever, your own funeral, just run in, buy that gas, and that should be good for you.
Ms. Bound, please drop him off at the hospital and then go back.
No, she might have missed it. Scott, I got news for you. After that, she said, "Listen, next time, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not driving. We're just." Yeah, Linda was not a happy camper seeing a 40-cent increase in a span of 4.5 hours is really what it came down to. And it just got me, because last night we were sitting around with friends and they were like, "Yeah, I told that story." And the first comment they made was, "It'll come down eventually." And these were the same people that when Biden took office and went up 10 cents, called him an asshole. But now all of a sudden it's $1.70 up, and it's been there for quite some time. And it'll come down eventually. And now they're beginning to understand that there isn't a button on the Resolute desk that could change gas prices. They've embraced that, because now it works for their guy. But again, I tell them, no, he doesn't have a button, but he can influence what excuses the companies have. Anyway, that was a lot off the topic. Sorry, George and Tallahassee. But I will say this. George and Tallahassee, here's what surprised me about Tallahassee is a very red area. And this question that George is asking gives me a lot of hope for Tallahassee, because this is a very moderate question, asking a really legitimate thing about what most people in Tallahassee would be an administration that they support.
Well, look what Sean Hannity reportedly said. Well,
I don't want to look at Sean Hannity.
Well, neither do I, but apparently he said that there's different rules for Trump. He doesn't have the same rules as everybody else. And I was like, what? You've got to be joking, but they're not.
It's worth jumping in here and just saying that the gas prices went up when Biden was president because Russia attacked Ukraine. It had nothing to do with Biden attacking anybody. This one was self-inflicted. We didn't have to do this. We could have kept the conversation going without bombing them and causing them to close the Strait of Hormuz, and gas prices went up as a result. It's also galling that Trump keeps saying that we are doing so good, that we are selling our sweet, delicious crude to a greater extent than we ever have before, because people like our sweet, delicious crude more than they like that sour, oil that comes from other places. This is a ridiculous thing. People of the United States of America, you don't own 1 gallon of gas unless you buy it at the store, at the gas station. We do not have oil companies,
and even then you're only renting it.
And right, and we are not making money from this. Oil companies are, and we should probably start talking about a windfall tax again, because they're running up the price of this. Nobody is talking about providing inexpensive oil for gasoline here in the United States. We don't refine our own sweet, delicious crude here at all. It always goes to other countries. And we get most of our oil actually from Canada, and a good amount from Mexico. And the more Trump keeps antagonizing Canada, the more likely they will try to figure out some kind of way to make us pay for it. But we don't get anything out of this. I just want people to be clear about that, because your patriotic friends are out there saying, well, the price of oil will go down. This is Pete Hegseth's thing was, what is the cost of preventing Iran from having the bomb? That's not a valid argument, because the conversations that we've had, the deal that we made, were preventing them from having the bomb. Their own leader that we killed didn't want to have the bomb, felt it was not in their best interest, which is why they don't have one. I mean, they would have gone and done this already. They've never announced that they have one. Of course, Israel has done the same thing. But we don't make anything from this, and we need to find a way out of this situation as quickly as we can, although I don't think it's going to be quick. Trump's latest moving the goalposts here could just be reopening the Strait of Hormuz and having oil flow through it again. It solves none of the original problems that we talked about, that he said were the various goals that caused this war to happen in the first place. We're not. I don't think right now. I mean, regime change is a must. We can't live without it. As I said before, there are reformists in Iran who could take the power away from the IRGC, which is where it is now. Let's face it, there is no supreme leader there. At least there's no supreme leader who can speak for himself or even walk, I think. And that means that there are a bunch of very disparate groups trying to claim responsibility for things. The Iranian people can't like the IRGC. They're utter failures, and they have not made a good Iran. Now, what they have managed to do is expose the fact that Iraq is a vassal state of Iran. Missiles are coming out of Iraq and striking Kuwait and striking other Gulf states. And we really need to be disturbed by the fact that we thought that Iraq was becoming a democratic state, and in fact is nothing more than a vassal state of Iran. Expect something to happen between Syria, Iraq, and Iran at some point or another. Understand that Lebanon is also controlled by Iran through Hezbollah. No matter what their government is at the moment, the real power there remains Hezbollah. In Yemen, the real power is backed by Iran. This is a bad Middle East that we've made worse. We've managed to make worse. I don't see real good things happening until we can get the IRGC out of power at all. And I don't know how to do that. I mean, I know that the Israelis are really good at targeted assassinations, but I don't know to the extent that they are being able to work in Tehran and move around the way they had before, where they were able to take out the leader of Hamas in Tehran itself. I don't know that they have that kind of ability anymore. But we're going to be in a bad situation for a long time here until, I don't know who it is, Rafsanjani or some of the other more reform-minded leaders take down the IRGC from the power in Tehran and to the benefit of the Iranian people. And those will be two goals that Trump could talk about if they happen, but there's no end in sight there.
Well, according to Rubio, we've already met all our goals under the great leadership of Trump. And then anybody who tests Trump is going to find out that, Trump's will is inflexible and all this and that and the other thing. And everyone who comes up against him, as has been shown time after time, always comes away limping and bloodied and whining and whimpering, never to be seen again, at that sort of stuff. So I guess we've already met all our goals.
I guess except for
I don't even know
Carroll.
what they were. Huh?
Right. Except for Eugene
Yes.
Carroll. I mean, I don't know what Rubio is even talking about. I didn't see that quote.
Neither
so.
do I. I don't think he does either.
But certainly, there is nothing that Trump has not attempted to do that he has not failed at miserably. And I can't, other than galvanizing the Republican Party or scaring the shit out of the Republican Party and getting the Senate to bend to his will or the House to bend to his will, there's been nothing that Trump has ever done in his life that hasn't ended in failure. And there is nobody out there who has ever put their faith in Trump and has not learned the bitter taste of disappointment. And that includes the people who bought those stupid phones. All right. I think that we understand that they will, of course, declare victory when there is no victory, that we will declare victory when there is no victory, and that Trump and the rest of them are being completely disingenuous about the cost of the war, which I've seen now estimates at 72 billion instead of 25 that they claimed, that there are not more troops that have been injured, if not killed, that the Trump administration has asked satellite companies not to publish the pictures that they've gotten of destroyed bases and tens of billions of dollars of equipment that have been destroyed by Iranian missile attacks that very, very clearly were well aimed at American bases around the Middle East, and that there is not a single American base in the Middle East as far away as Cyprus that has not been hit by Iran in this conflict. So eventually, of course, the truth will come out and we will find out about it. But I suspect that will be long after Trump is dead. The goalpost moving around, okay, seems to be like standard operating procedure with this Trump administration. But I do think that, you know what? I haven't really thought about this, but maybe the best thing for everybody would be for Trump to declare victory, get the hell out of there, and let's just wait until Trump is gone and like a real president can take office who has knows actual diplomats rather than his golf buddy and his son-in-law, and is able to, make some kind of headway with whoever is running countries all around the world, but especially Iran.
And that is good advice. Okay.
Yep. So thank you, George, for your question.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Phoenix Research Group, an independent research consortium dedicated to providing solutions to social and political issues for NGOs and international government agencies. Through multidisciplinary, nonpartisan, and unbiased research, the Phoenix Research Group advances understanding and practical strategies for complex challenges. The Phoenix Research Group is a division of the Phoenix Research Institute, the producer of the Nova Society podcast.